All right, so at the same time that Nintendo dropped this overview trailer that I just reacted to, IGN dropped a preview video. Apparently there was an embargo lifted. Apparently this guy Logan Plant previewed it. So we're gonna check out his preview of the game. This is the final preview before the game releases on December 4th, which as of the recording of this video is roughly 1, 2, 3 weeks out. All right, so let's get to it and see what they're talking about.
After 8 years of waiting, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is just 3 weeks away, and honestly, saying that still doesn't feel real. Maybe that's partly because Nintendo has kept a pretty tight lid on specifics surrounding Samus Aran's next adventure. We've only seen a small handful of trailers, and much of Prime 4 has remained a total mystery. That's caused a lot of fans to think that they must be preserving some special surprise, right? Well, while playing over an hour of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on Nintendo Switch 2, I discovered a seemingly major component that's been completely absent from any footage we've seen so far. This guy.
Hey! Hey, Samus Aran! Oh, stop! Help me out!
Galactic Federation soldier.
Please get me down.
That's Specialist Miles McKenzie, a member of the Galactic Federation stranded with Samus on the planet Viewros. Miles tagged along for a significant chunk of my play session, and the way Retro Studios has implemented this NPC companion is far and away my biggest concern about Prime 4 after my time with it.
I got him! I got him! Oh! No, 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 no!
But we'll get to him a bit later. Because everything else was pretty encouraging. Classic
Need that
Metroid Prime
comical
exploration and combat, an intriguing setup, gorgeous art direction, and great technical performance on Switch 2 are coming together to create an adventure that likely won't redefine Metroid in any meaningful way, or live up to the unrealistic hype built by nearly a decade of waiting, but one that could serve as a great return for a sub-series that hasn't seen a new mainline entry in 18 years, as long as annoying sidekicks don't keep getting in Samus's way.
Thank you, Samus.
Metroid Prime
I'm a
Beyond.
specialist.
Yeah.
Miles McKenzie.
It's never gonna live up.
4.
It's never gonna live up to the hype because it's been so many years. People are gonna. I think the only game, and this might be me glazing because it's one of my favorite game series. This might be me glazing, but I think the only game that had a crazy, one of the few games that had a crazy gap in time from the last one, from the last entries in the series, was probably Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry 5. You could also say like GTA 4, because that gap from 3 to 4, and then the hype, and then when it excelled, it exceeded past the hype, was pretty good. So there's a handful of games that are able to live up to that kind of hype.
Before we get too far, a word about spoilers. Everything I played takes place during the first 90 minutes or so of the adventure, so you really don't have to worry that you're going to see too much. It's also worth pointing out that this was all on Switch 2. No one outside of Nintendo knows how Prime 4 will perform on Switch 1 just yet. But on Switch 2, it's looking fantastic so far. I started my preview in handheld mode, where I replayed the same introduction sequence we got to play at the Nintendo Switch 2 premiere event back in April. This was the final.
Man, I wish
Prime
they
4's
selected
opening,
me for
and it's
that.
still an
I tried to
explosive
get to that.
introduction that sets the stage for the conflict between Samus and the Metroid-breeding bounty hunter Sylux, as our hero is warped away to the mysterious planet Viewros. The biggest takeaway here is that Prime 4 looked fantastic on the Switch 2 screen, specifically at 120 FPS in performance mode. Once I was set up on the TV, playing in quality mode at a crisp 4K 60 FPS, things got started with a very familiar, nostalgic chain of events. The camera snaps behind Samus's visor, and I'm left alone to explore this lush forest region, so I, almost reflexively, start scanning everything in sight to add it to my logbook. Gameplay-wise, Prime 4 doesn't seem to be reinventing the morph ball. This still looks and plays like Metroid Prime, and I really enjoyed falling back into its investigative flow. Examining the local flora and fauna, locking onto floating gaseous spores or roots that leap out of the water and blasting them away with my arm cannon. Scanning lore tablets to learn about the ancient race called the Lemorn. Seeing Samus's reflection in the visor as I open the blue and orange wireframe map all Prime fans will recognize. I felt like Retro Studios was picking up right where it left off, retaining the core DNA of the series in this first major area. The forest is called Fury Green, and after making my way through several linear hallways, I was formally introduced to it with this sweeping wide shot that sells how great Retro's art direction is.
Nice. Yeah, this is like, it gives me a nostalgic vibe. I said it
You
in
can
the
tell
last
Prime
one.
4 was built as a Switch 1 game
It gives me like a really nostalgic, like GameCube era kind of vibe, but with modern development techniques and graphical techniques added to it.
Couple ways. Some background elements look a bit flat, but handing the added power of the Switch 2 to a studio with an artistic track record like Retro has resulted in what's shaping up to be a really beautiful game. At least in this self-contained area. My preview didn't cover the open desert or Samus's motorcycle we've seen in the last couple of trailers. It's important to note that Nintendo specifically chose not to include that content at this preview event. Make of that what you will, but it leaves those two key components as our biggest unanswered questions that will have to wait for our final review. But back to what I did actually see. In classic Metroid fashion, I soon ran into the first door I couldn't pass, so I morphed over to a new area and unlocked one of Prime 4's main new powers.
Psychic.
The Psychic Glove. This gives Samus telekinetic control of psychic objects. I returned to the blocked door and used the glove to grab a psychic energy mote from a nearby statue and redirect it into the lock, allowing me to proceed. All examples of this were pretty simple so far, but this is the first major area, so it's probably fair to expect they'll get more complex as Samus progresses.
Yeah,
I'm
most
hoping
likely.
the same for the other uses of the Psychic Glove, which involve slowly tracing basic shapes to unlock this energy tank, or painstakingly pulling a lever to open the way to a save room. The animations felt sluggish, and the actions were completely mindless, another thing I'm expecting to ramp up as we go. My map beeped, alerting me of a distress beacon from the Galactic Federation, a few rooms away. On the way there, I passed some hardened tree resin I couldn't yet destroy, and scanning it indicated that a missile would take the wall down. I appreciate that Prime 4's blockades aren't all the same familiar doors, and that in this case, it was naturally woven into the environment. We'd be back here later, but with a friend in tow.
Beyond chatty.
After tiptoeing through an eerie, condensed part of Fury Green, I came across a crash-landed Galactic Federation ship, where I was immediately taken aback by the tonal whiplash. My way here was filled with hauntingly beautiful choral melodies and isolated exploration. It was vintage Metroid Prime. But now it's finally time to get to know specialist Miles McKenzie.
Oh, wow. What a mess. You're alone? On a planet.
You gotta have that comical relief character in
so.
there. Some way, somehow.
You're also not sitting next to Phil anymore in that cubicle, so... Win? Ugh.
He didn't leave a great first impression with this honestly cringy monologue, but I was still intrigued to see where it went. Samus and Miles got swarmed by some jungle monsters, and it became my job to protect Miles from them. After a close-quarters firefight that concluded with shooting the vines holding up Miles' ship, he awarded me with the missile upgrade for being his savior. This is fine, I thought. I prefer isolation in Metroid, but I don't mind running into a character here and there to flesh out the story with some voice acting and cutscenes. But then...
If it's okay with you, I'm gonna tag along.
I started to get a sinking feeling.
So, where to? It might be a good idea to check the map and get our bearings.
In one sentence, Samus not only gained an unwanted companion, that companion also instantly started chiming in on what I should be doing. Like Atreus to Kratos in God of War, or Aloy to Aloy in Horizon. The next 20 minutes of my demo ranged from mildly annoying to downright infuriating, as Miles constantly bombarded me with either awkward attempts at quippy humor,
It's about to get real nerdy in here.
or unwelcome hints that directly defy Metroid's spirit of exploration and discovery.
Missiles are effective. True with a hard shell, you know.
He would scold me for not stopping to save my game,
Are you sure we don't need to use that?
comment on everything I scanned,
Can you read that? Hey, does that say anything about this place? They really don't want anyone in here. Must be a sacred space.
state the obvious,
I can see the door, Samus.
and would scream whenever an enemy popped out of the ground suddenly. I promise I'm not cherry-picking here. I was in complete disbelief at how Miles was constantly talking during gameplay, to the point where I dug around the settings menu to see if I could tone it down.
See if you can turn them off.
The only option I found was to mute voice acting entirely, but I don't see myself doing that when there are plenty of actual cutscenes I'd still like to see play out normally. I don't have a problem with Metroid focusing more on story or introducing important new characters, but that story and those characters need to be good, and Miles was so annoying and overbearing that I honestly found it hard to focus on what I was doing.
Well, I'll be. It did work.
Metroid Prime 3 Corrupt
I don't know. I guess it's to each their own on that, because I like a little quirkiness, a little quirky character to break up the monotony of having a silent protagonist, because not everybody likes the silent protagonist. I'm one of them. It works sometimes, but I'm kind of tired. I feel like it's low key lazy. But I can understand for a legacy character like Samus, who never really talked before, to have them continue to not talk, because that's like a legacy. Like, it'd be weird if she just start running her mouth, out of nowhere. So I guess they figured, let's add another character that actually does talk. But we'll see. As the game develops, maybe there'll be more interesting, more fleshed out characters. I'm assuming there will be.
Features other bounty hunters that Samus occasionally crosses paths with, but it's never been this much of a focus. And throw in as many cutscenes as you want, but I can't help but feel a sacred line has been crossed when I'm playing a Metroid game and an annoying engineer tells me how to open my map, how to defeat an enemy, or reminds me to save without me asking for any of it. There are far smarter, more nuanced ways to onboard new players and push a franchise forward while still respecting the reasons people love it in the first place. And the way Retro weaved Miles in caused a lot of dissonance that shattered the immaculate vibes the introduction set up.
I think he's dragging it.
Everything in this jungle trying to kill
I
us.
think he's dragging it, to
How
be
am I
honest.
supposed to soak in these gorgeous vistas and this epic, serious music when this guy is asking me if that weird smell is sweet or stinky?
There's a strange smell around here.
I'd had enough, and I tried to ditch Miles during a fight on a very cool bridge. I heard him yelling to not leave him behind, but before I knew it, he went down, and my visor prompted me to use Samus's psychic powers to revive him. When I failed to do so, Miles died, and I got a game over for letting a Federation trooper fall in battle. Of all the things
okay,
Metroid
that
Prime
is
4
kind of
could have
annoying.
been, I never would have guessed it would include outdated escort missions with companions that never stop talking.
The last stretch. I'm going for it. Cover me?
Samus doesn't respond at all, which, if you're going to pick between Samus talking a lot or not at all, silence is the right choice in a vacuum, even if I think a few words here and there would work better than this awkward silence.
Hey, but it's
Yeah,
progress.
and that's where my gripe comes in with the silent protagonist. It's like people are talking to you and like you're not conveying any emotion, you're not saying anything at all. Like they could have had her say something, just but it's either you have her talk, like he said, it's either you have her talk a lot or not at all. The lesser of two evils is, the better option would be, I guess, to not have her talk, because she's traditionally not talked. Just imagine the uproar of just choosing the voice actress. That lady, no matter who it was, she would get all types of death threats and weirdos in her inbox. Like, it's sad that it's like that the gaming community is like that. No, not even the gaming community, just that the world is just like that. Nintendo's probably, we don't even want that headache. And plus that would take months of, recording and shit like that.
But there are 3 words I really wanted to hear her say. Please shut up. Thankfully, this didn't last forever. After earning the new control beam ability that lets Samus direct her charge shots to hit multiple targets, to which Miles said,
You found something for your suit, didn't you?
we arrived in a Lamorne temple, where Miles decided to stay behind to work on fixing up some tech. Finally, some peace and quiet. I used the charge shot to open a blocked door from the other side, which reminded me of using Zelda Skyward Sword's Beetle ability, both in its close-up camera angle and use of optional Wii-era motion controls, and pressed forward on my own. After enjoying the silence while working through a few more simplistic rooms, Samus was face-to-face with Carvex, Fury Green's plant-based boss.
Oh yeah,
I blasted
boss
its tail,
time.
opening its belly
the
up.
highlight
with
of these games
missiles.
for me.
It entered its next phase with 2 tails, and I found that by the time I destroyed the second, the first one had grown back. So, in classic Metroid fashion, where your most recent upgrade is often the key to beating a
key to
boss,
victory,
I had to
yeah.
use a charge shot to destroy both its
Yep.
tails with 1 bullet. This was neat, and really felt like more vintage Metroid Prime game design shining through. Defeating Carvex netted Samus the power bombs, which have received a psychic buff this time around. You can place standard bombs to blow up suspicious spots as usual, but placing one infused with psychic power essentially turns it into a moat Samus can telekinetically move. I earned the first of 5 master teleporter keys Samus is collecting to escape Viewros, and
Booyah! Long-range comms are back online.
So 5 major
Miles was back.
bosses.
But he didn't stick around for long, just asking Samus to return to base camp to talk about what to do next. Once I returned, Miles shared that Viewros isn't on any known star chart, saying we could be anywhere or we could be nowhere, setting up an interesting story that, paired with Samus's other main objective of preserving the history of the Lemoran civilization before it's lost to time, I can't wait to see play out. With that, Miles and Samus agreed to be partners, sharing data with each other now that the comms are working. And Miles stayed behind as Samus returned to the desert area we still know so little about, and my time swiftly came to an end. So, how big of a role will chatty companions play in the full adventure? It's hard to say. The fact that the game over screen told me a Federation trooper was killed in battle rather than that Miles was killed in battle, coupled with the fact that the Federation page of the logbook had several blank entries to fill out after I scanned Miles,
There's gonna be more
tells me
characters
that
you're
each
gonna meet.
major area of Prime 4 will likely have a companion to find.
Yep.
If that fear turns out to be true, I can only hope that they aren't all as overbearing as Miles, that his section felt particularly frustrating because it was the opening area, and that Prime 4 won't be afraid to let me explore and figure things out on my own.
I'm just gonna stay out of your way.
Yeah, I think as you get more through the game, they introduce you more characters. They'll introduce like more serious characters. Like if you go look at the overview video, they had like a guy, he just wanted to get back to his family. They had a robot, so like I don't think the robot's gonna be giving you tutorials. I think you're just gonna be running and gunning. So I think as you go, they'll wean you off of like these characters talking so much, or if when they do talk, they have something meaningful to say that advances the plot.
You let me know when it's clear.
Which is a strength of all the best Metroid games. Because other than that major exception, I really enjoyed my first big look at Prime 4, and I'm beyond curious to see how it all finally comes together on December 4th. For more on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, check out a special episode of Nintendo Voice Chat, the weekly Nintendo podcast I host here at IGN.
Yeah, this is gonna go hard. This is gonna go hard for sure.
Major component that's been completely
What's his name again?
my biggest classic Metroid Prime completely absent.
Let me go. I'm gonna go to the boss area. I'm gonna do this like this. All right, let's do it. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So you're in this planet Viewros, and you gain psychic powers. You were originally fighting against your arch nemesis Silux. You get transported to this planet. Nobody knows where you are, so you got to fight your way back. You got to get these 5 master keys so that you can get back to your planet. And some Galactic Federation soldiers were transported there with you. In each area, which there are 5 areas, you get a new companion, a new soldier. So as you go along, you'll run into these unique experiences with these characters, and you'll gain new psychic powers. So typical Metroid format. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to play it. I'm loving how this game looks. It comes out December 4th, and this definitely probably a day 1 cop for sure. All right, so y'all let me know how you feel in the comments, right? So you already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy just falls me out. 1.